Hey, what's up, Brandon? This is a quick demo video for you for your KR Sabers Lost Acolyte Saber. This is installed with a Proffie that you wanted. It's a 2-button setup, so your 2 switches are located right here in this control section. These are 2 plunger switches, so they can be activated individually or you can press them both at the same time. All right. You've got 2 LED bezels right here, so we light those up. We're going to talk about those here in a second because there is something unique about these. This takes a 7/8 inch blade. I've got your blade plug in here for now. And this is your blade retention. So this is very nice. You don't need any tools. All right. To get to your chassis, what you want to do is open up your pommel. So when you take this pommel off, you will notice there's a little spacer in there. It's a pretty tight press fit. I did that on purpose, so it won't fall out or anything, but you'll just want to go ahead and leave that in there. All right. And then you'll see your speaker right here. So just take your Saber like this, pop it out, and it'll come right out. All right. This is your chassis. So you have, I gave you an OLED screen right here. You didn't ask for it, but I just went ahead and I put one in there anyway. You have a kill switch located over here on the other side, right on the side of the board. Your Proffie board right here. Access to everything right here. All right. So you'll need a 90-degree data cable, but you can take out your SD card here from with a pair of tweezers. You can get that 90-degree data cable in there. I got one right here to show you. This is how I programmed it. So there's plenty of room to put that in there and clip it in. All right. You got a removable battery setup. This has a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost Elite speaker. It says Solo Sabers over here for me, and then just says Lost Acolyte over here. What else do we got? This is the provided PCB that came with the Saber. So it's got both of your switches on, and it's got these 2 LEDs. Now, in hindsight, what I found out on these LEDs is they kind of act as one. All right. When you take a look at the config file that I have on your SD card, you'll notice I have these broken out into 2 subblades because they use the same negative line, but they use 2 separate data lines. So I broke that off into 2 subblades. I wired them to do something different, and you'll see that when I put the battery in and we fire it up outside of the Saber. But because these are laying down, you can see they're flat on the PCB. So when it slides in like this, and these LED bezels are facing up, when one lights up on the chassis, it pretty much lights up both windows. So programming them separately really wasn't something that I needed to do. And if you try to do it, you're not going to get the visualization on this control box that maybe you were hoping for. So just be aware of that. You can make them both do the same thing. So both of these windows just mirror each other, basically. All right. I took the shorter screw off the Covertech and I put the longer screw that was provided in your kit because it acts as a chassis clocking device. As you can see, it kind of sticks into the handle a little bit like that. And that's why you've got this groove riding on the back of your chassis all the way through. All right. You'll notice when you get this, it might be a little bit hard to see on camera, but as you get to about right here, I had to sand this and bring it down. It's something I did not catch when I was designing the chassis, and I was having a hard time putting it in. And so when I put my finger inside here and I was searching around inside there to figure out why it was so tight, there's a little bit of a machining. It's not really an issue. There's just a machining piece in there where it didn't hollow out that section the same as it did like the back half, right? So like this back half is a certain diameter, but when you get to this upper part, it's a smaller diameter because of the machining process. So I just had to like file that down just a little bit. Very hard to tell unless you get it in person, but when you get it in person, you'll notice that hardly noticeable. All right, and you've got a Carl Chen B4 Neopixel connector. So for now, it just has one sound font on it, which is my own. I prefer to use that. I think it's cool anyway because it's mine, but I think it is better than the stock font package. All right, and then like I said, there's a copy of the config file on your SD card. So when you put a battery in, please remember, as always, right, spring side over here for the negative side of your battery. So we'll throw our battery in. I always take the stickers off my battery. Not something that you necessarily have to do on this one. It's just something that I do. All right, so when we put our battery in and we come over here and we flip our switch, We've got our OLED screen going. We've got our blinkies. Now you can see on the blinkies outside of the chassis or outside of the Saber, I have them doing separate things. All right. And they are on a timer until we turn it on. And then you can see I left the front one solid, but I made the back one pulse, thinking I would get that animation. All right. So when we throw this in, just make sure that your groove right here is lined up with your Covertech wheel, because that's how you kind of clock the chassis to make sure that the switch PCB is right underneath your control box. And then we'll put our pummel on. The pummel, when you screw it all the way down, locks the chassis in place. Now if you can see that, now you know the LEDs on the chassis are doing separate things, but because your LED windows are like this and your LEDs are sitting down here, and it's got all that space in there to light things up, it's lighting both of the windows. So hopefully that makes sense, right? And we turn it on, and that's what they're doing, right? So front power, back auxiliary. That's your blade plug, so very nice shine through on your blade plug, as well as your windows here. Saber sounds very good, pretty beefy, auxiliary. And then I gave you twist off, all right? So we'll go ahead and we'll loosen up your blade, or your blade retention a little bit. Slide your blade plug out. This Saber takes a 7/8 inch blade. This is my sweet 7/8 inch blade that I have marked up. I've got so many markings on this because when it comes to especially Sabers like this, so a lot of these markings were from designing this chassis. I put this in so far, I do a mark, I measure the mark and so forth, but it still works fine. But you'll need a 7/8 inch blade. Fits in there very nice. All right, then you'll lock it down with your blade retention screw, which is that cog right there, and hit power. So this is a very, very solid Saber when it's all put together. Now if you wanted to change colors on this, you could just hold down auxiliary and hit power. You hear that noise, right? And then you can just twist the Saber to whatever you want. You like that right there, we'll hit power. So now we've locked in a green blade. You may have noticed when I had the chassis outside of the Saber that the two LEDs on the PCB, I programmed them as white. All right, and so no matter what, I just did white color because you have these bezels over here are red. So, you know, I just made it white so the red of the LED bezels would shine through. Soundtrack, right? Long press on the power when the Saber's off. Do another long press to turn it off. And then, of course, this just has one sound font, but to trade them, if you had multiple, you hit auxiliary. Yeah, this is the apologize font. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll break this back down. Again, just unscrew our blade retention, which is it's very nice to have one of these on a Saber when you don't need an Allen key. All right, and then we'll put your blade retention, or your blade plug actually goes past your emitter a little bit. All right, if you can see that. What I do is I just kind of back it up until it's even, about like that, and then I'll lock it down. But of course, you can do whatever you like there. There's just plenty of room, was my point. All right, so we'll take our pommel back off. Slide our chassis out, turn this on again, and then come over here and flip the kill switch, and it killed power. Okay, so you can leave your battery in there until it's time to charge it. When you do take it out, do it from the positive side by your speaker and pop it out with your finger, just like that. All right, so we'll just slide this back in, very easy to do. Don't press right on the speaker, try to press on the sides, but it goes right in, and then we'll lock this down. All right, so that is basically your Lost Acolyte. This is a very cool saber. I bought one for myself, actually. It's a very cool saber. Hopefully you like the way it came out. You may have one of the first installed ones I've seen. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I will try my best to get this out in the mail to you today. If not, it will definitely be tomorrow. All right, thanks.